My camper was designed to sit on my F-150 pickup, which has a maximum carrying capacity of 2,100 pounds. So my camper needed to be lightweight, but I also wanted it to have the full functionality of a camper as I'm getting on in years. One factor in my favor is that I designed it to be a solo traveler, so everything was sized for only one person. My goal was to build an off-grid camper that could be used for boondocking, meaning that it was comfortable operating at remote locations without the electricity and water that you would find at a traditional campground. It also needed to be lightweight, so I was shooting for a camper that did not exceed 1,500 pounds. That way I could add my own body weight and the weight of my supplies and food while still being under or very close to the maximum carrying capacity of my truck. Building the camper to these weight restrictions required many compromises, which I'll describe as we see the camper in detail. My camper has a full AC and DC electrical system with two 100 amp hour lithium phosphate batteries, a 30 amp shore power connection, 400 watts of solar on the roof, a 40 watt DC to DC charger connected to the truck's battery/alternator, and a 2,000 watt inverter. The camper also has a water system which allows for pressurized water from a shore connection or a gravity feed to fill a 10-gallon freshwater tank. The tank uses a water pump to feed the system. There is a kitchen sink which drains into a 10-gallon gray water tank. It also has an outdoor shower, and hot water is delivered from a propane-powered tankless system. But this highlights the first major compromise. There is no bathroom. I do have a portable toilet for times when you need to go. The camper has 3 windows, a powered roof vent, and an air conditioner for warm weather, and 2 sources of heat, propane and electric, for cold weather. Storage is often limited in smaller truck campers, and since I am planning some long duration trips, I focused on making sufficient room to bring along all the necessary supplies. To achieve that, I did 2 things. The first is a bit innovative. I hung cabinets off the back of the camper which overhang the tailgate of the truck. Secondly, I put cabinets in the interior where I could make the room. The compromise here is that the inside is a bit small, but that's okay with me. Uncle Sam trained me to work on a small but powerful radio system that sat inside of a tiny metal box which fit onto the back of a pickup. My camper was built to place inside the 6-foot bed of my pickup. I wanted to make sure that the tailgate could close when the camper was inside. This is due to several reasons, the first of which was the ability to use the backup camera that came with the pickup. Secondly, when the tailgate is down, you can walk in and out of the camper using the tailgate as a porch. And the last reason is for security, as the tailgate locks when the pickup doors are locked, ensuring that the camper door cannot be opened. The camper uses Rikon Titan jacks to lift the camper high enough to drive the pickup underneath it and to be able to lift the camper off the truck. The camper is currently held onto the pickup by the use of Brody heavy-duty bedside tie-downs. As I use the camper more, I will be able to figure out if I need to go to a more heavy-duty frame-mounted tie-down like a torque lift system. The camper was built out of wood using 1.5-inch milled lumber for the walls and a 3-inch lumber for the ceiling. Outside walls were covered with 1/8-inch plywood and the roof was covered with 1/4-inch plywood. The entire camper was then covered with a waterproof Durabac, which is a polyurethane epoxy. I used gray on the walls, white on the roof, and a rough textured black compound for the bed of the camper. The walls are insulated with 1.5 inches of XPS foam insulation board, and the ceiling has 3 inches of EPS foam insulation board. The door was also made with a 1-inch core of XPS foam insulation board. This will keep the camper cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Instead of covering the inside walls with plywood, I used another of Dave Mason's techniques and wrapped the insulation panels in cotton duck fabric. I was able to locate a pretty blue duck for the walls and a white duck for the ceiling. The blue walls add significant color and interest in the camper. I'm retired, so I have the luxury of working on my camper every day, but even with all of my free time, I've been working on the camper for the last 15 months. This duration does include time off for monthly camping trips, an annual vacation, and many shortened days for too cold or too hot temperatures here in northern Florida. It feels good to complete the camper and to now be able to start using it. I started drawing pictures on how I would lay out the internals of my camper, as it would affect how the structure would be created. Then I measured the back of my pickup truck. I then used those measurements to lay out the outer shape of the camper on the floor of my shop. I used masking tape for the layout. Next, I spent a huge amount of time deciding what features and functions would go into the camper. Then I had to research and choose all the appliances that I would use in the camper. Then I cut out the cardboard templates with accurate measurements for each of the appliances that were going to be used. I laid those templates onto the outlet to see where and how things would fit. I could have created the entire layout on my computer on a program such as SketchUp, but I'm more of a hands-on visual person, so this worked better for me. Having a completed design gave me the confidence that I could start the build knowing that everything would fit. And I'll share a funny secret with you. I changed almost everything along the way. So don't get hung up, just build and adjust as you go. Unless you're going into business making a ton of these and charging money for them, it's not going to matter in the long run. On the driver's side of the camper, you will see all the main service connections. Starting at the top, I have an LED spotlight. It turns on white, but with a second quick switch, it will turn to a yellow bug light. It's the first of 3 exterior lights. There is one spotlight on each side of the camper, and then another light next to the back door. Below the light is a kitchen window. This is the first of 3 windows. All the windows are the Overland style of double paned acrylic, which open from the bottom and latch at 3 different angles. Inside the window is a bug screen and a blackout shade. Just below and to the right of the window is an air vent for the gray water tank. On the bottom row, starting at the front, is a door for the water feed, which is both gravity and pressurized. Next is a 30 amp electrical connection. The third door is an outside shower. And the last door at the back is a storage bin, which I plan to use for tool storage. The back of the camper is busy with cabinets, to the left and to the right of the door. The door was made as a Dutch door so that the top can remain open while the bottom is closed. The door also features a top opening sash window with a bug screen. On the left side of the door, the top cabinet holds an Excel electronic ignition tankless hot water heater. Above it, the horizontal rectangle is a vent for exhausting the heat generated by the heater. There are also vents low on the left and right sides of this cabinet for air intake. The next cabinet below holds a single propane tank. The cabinet was sized to hold either a 10-pound or a 20-pound propane tank. It also has a quick disconnect port so that you can connect external propane appliances like stoves or lanterns. The bottom cabinet is the location of the water pump and also gives you access to the water drains. The main drain is for the gray water tank, but I also put in drains for the freshwater tank, which is good when purifying the system, and it also acts as a low water point when I winterize it. And I added one more drain as a low water point on the hot water line. On the right side of the door, the top cabinet provides for an exhaust to the air conditioner. There are also air vents on the left and right sides of this cabinet for air intake. The base of this cabinet was lined with plexiglass and has an external drain for any water produced by the air conditioner. Florida, where I live, is very humid, not only in the summer, and air conditioners here produce lots of water when they compress the air to make it cold. Below the air conditioner is a white and yellow porch light. The lower cabinet on the right side of the door is a tall storage bin to hold the water hose and the 30 amp electrical cord. There is space at the bottom of the cabinet to also hold electrical and water accessories. The back of the camper and the door are sheltered by a 12-inch overhang of the roof. This overhang also holds 5 red clearance lights. I did put 5 yellow clearance lights on the front of the camper too. These lights turn on any time that the pickup truck's parking lights are turned on. The passenger side of the camper has 2 of the Overlander style acrylic windows. One is located above the couch and one is located at the head of the bed. The roof holds a traditional 14-inch by 14-inch roof vent with a remote-controlled 10-speed fan. The roof vent is flanked on each side by Renogy 200-watt solar panels. Now moving to the interior of the camper. When you walk into the camper, the kitchen is to the left, the living room with the couch is to the right, and the bed is straight ahead in the cab over. But let's start with safety first. I have a smoke detector, a CO2 detector, and a propane detector. If there are any problems with any of the systems in the camper, I will be notified right away. The kitchen starts with a cabinet in the rear of the camper. This cabinet has 3 shelves and is the pantry. This is where I'll store my food. The central part of the kitchen holds a sink and a stove. A kitchen window sits above them. The sink is a traditional square shape, and the faucet has both cold and hot water. With the hot water tank just sitting on the far side of the pantry, the water gets hot very quickly. That's important to help reduce the amount of water that I will be using. The stove is a 2-burner propane stove and has an electronic ignition. One burner is larger than the other, which helps me cook based on the size of my pots. To the left and above the sink, I have located what I'm calling the command center. Starting at the top, the command center has the inverter on-off switch, the battery monitor, the fresh and gray water tanks, a 12-volt DC outlet cluster containing a round cigarette port, a USB-A port, and a USB-C port. And the last item on the bottom is a dual 110-volt AC outlet. On the right of the sink and above the stove is a Bodega 12-volt DC compressor refrigerator. It is 110-liter refrigerator freezer. It's probably bigger than I need, but the next smaller size didn't feel right and used the identical amount of power as this one. The major downside here was that it weighed a bit more. The kitchen has lots of storage with cabinets above and below the sink and stove, and 2 drawers underneath the refrigerator. Below the entire kitchen is the location of the 10-gallon freshwater and 10-gallon gray water tanks. The tanks are strapped down to hold them in place. Removable plywood covers were placed over the tank bay. I did cut 2 slots so that I can do a visual inspection of the water levels to add to the electronic gauges. The last item in the kitchen is a Wave 3 propane-powered catalytic heater. It uses a push-button ignition so that no power is required to operate the heater. I also chose it because it doesn't create as much water moisture as the more popular Big Buddy model. Moisture is an important factor in such a small wood camper. Against the front of the camper is a large box with a hinged lid. All of the electronics and batteries for the camper are mounted in this area. On the face of the box there is an on-off switch for the batteries. This switch shuts down the entire electronic system. In the center is an AC circuit breaker panel that also contains all of the 12-volt DC fuses. There is an AC outlet to the right of the circuit breaker panel. I often use a small 200-watt heater in this location. Since electronics generate heat when they operate, it's important to have airflow. So I have mounted 7 1-inch round vents to allow air into the box. And at the top of the box, I have another 7 for the heat to escape. This photo shows all the electronics mounted on the backboard before the batteries were installed in front of them. In front of that, I installed the front panel, which you saw in the last photo. This will give you a flavor of how everything was placed and wired. The bedroom is located in the cabover, and it is very basic, with a 5-inch memory foam mattress. It also has a closed cabinet at the foot of the bed. The front side of the living room features a seating area with a 3-inch pad and an inexpensive wraparound fabric. The rear end of the seating area has a tabletop which can rotate on a lagoon-style holder. Above the seating area is a pair of cabinets. On the face of the front cabinet is a dual light switch. The left switch turns on the bedroom lights, and the right switch turns on the lights above the seating area. The back of the seating area has a large closet which has 3 shelves and really holds a lot. Above the closet is an air conditioner face. The rest of the air conditioner protrudes into the outer cabinet. To the right of the closet is 2 rows of light switches. The top row has 3 switches for the outside spotlights, the right and left sides of the camper, and 1 for the porch. The bottom row is the switch and dimmer control for the ceiling lights in the main body of the camper. The switch is a 3-way switch with the corresponding switch on the back side of the upper cabinet in the living room. This puts the switch in the bedroom where it's easy to turn on and off when you're in bed. In closing, building this truck camper has been an extremely fun project. It entailed a lot of research, some mental gymnastics to create a design, and all the building skills that I've learned over the years, and a bit more that I needed to learn for this project. It took much longer than I expected, but I was not in any rush. It ended up weighing in at 1,840 pounds, way over my goal, and making a fully stocked camper push right up against my truck specs. However, in hindsight, there is very little that I would change. I'm looking forward to starting to use the camper locally, which will allow me to flush out any problems before I consider taking any long distance or long duration trips. I hope that my build is an inspiration to you and that you consider building your own truck camper. Peace out.